To Law of Sines video number 2. I'm going to complete 2 examples in this video. I really suggest you write them both down completely. It'll be important to have these notes. Okay, so looking here, it tells us that we're given triangle ABC and we're being asked to solve for the missing parts. So the first thing we have to figure out is if it is a law of sines problem. Now, obviously it will be because I'm teaching you about that, but you really need to, when you're given problems on a test, decide, is this an angle, side angle, angle, side, or donkey? Because if it is, then law of sines would be appropriate. How you do that, the easiest way is to just make a sketch. This triangle is not visually accurate, but label the angles A, B, and C. And then it looks like angle A is 42 degrees. Angle B is 60 degrees. We don't know angle C. Side length A is 4.5, and they don't give us side length B or C. So to solve for the missing parts, we were given 3 of the 6 parts. We need to find 1 more angle and 2 more side lengths. Now, when I look here, I look and I see that this is if I look left to right, it's an angle, side. This side only touches one of the angles. It's across from the other. So since this side only touches one of the angles, I would pick the shortcut where S for side only touches one of the angles. So this is an angle, side problem, which is great. So I know that I can use the law of sines to solve this. Now, before I even start using the law of sines, I think I can figure out what the measure of angle C is without doing any law of sines work. And hopefully many of you are being like, oh yeah, angle C, that's 78 degrees. How did you get 78 degrees? Well, hopefully you remember that the 3 angles of a triangle add up to 180 from your geometry class. So if you just did 42 plus 60 and subtracted that from 180, you'd have 78 degrees. These 3 add up to 180. So now I'm ready to set up my law of sines. So my proportion problem, and what I'll do is I'm going to look for which pair, A, B, or C, do I both have the angle and the side length for, and it's angle A, and that's what I'm going to put then in my middle proportion. You wouldn't have, it doesn't matter really which fraction you put the 4.5 and the sine of 42 in, but I do think it makes it easier if you put that in the middle. All right, and then let's set up, maybe we'll put our B's over here, so it's side length B over sine of 60 and side length C over sine of 78. So pretty good. What you would do now is look here, and I see that I have a cross multiplication problem here, and I could do some cross multiplying here. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I think, is just give myself some room to do this work. All right, so if you look here on the left, B times the sine of 42 is B times the sine of 42, and that's going to equal 4.5 times the sine of 60. So to solve for B here, since B is multiplying the sine of 42, I'm going to divide both sides by the sine of 42. So they cancel here. And now I have some work to do in my calculator. Let's see if I can pull the calculator up. This will be a good test. All right, I think I've got it. And then when I look at my calculator, I click on mode. I want to make sure I'm in degree mode. So I look down here, the degree is highlighted. So that's good. And now, what was it that I have to do? I had to do 4.5 times the sine. It looks like sin. It's right up here, kind of find mode and go 3 or 4 down. Hit the sine of 60. I'm going to close that parenthesis, and then I am going to hit enter so it does that work first, and then I'm going to divide by the sine of 42. If you want to get fancy with parentheses and things like that, you could do it all at once. So it looks like I get B to equal a 5.824. Sorry, I looked at that funny. 5.824. And then we can go ahead and let's just round that to 5.8. I would be sure to tell you what to round to if I wanted something specific. So the B is 5.8. Now let's do the same thing to find the side length for C. So if I look here, I have cross multiply C times the sine of 42 equals 4.5 times the sine of 78. Make sure you don't, I'll get there. So solving for C, when I divide both sides by the sine of 42, those cancel. And now what I'm going to do is 4.5 times the sine of 78 divide by the sine of 42. I want to make sure that I do the 4.5 first. 4.5 times the sine of 78, and I press equal. Okay, or if I do the sine of 78 first, I have to close that parenthesis before I hit times 4.5. Let's see what happens there. Do I get the same answer? Good, 4.4, I like it. What some students do by mistake is they do the sine of 78, they don't close the parenthesis, and they just do times 4.5, and you're going to end up getting something different. And what happened there is the calculator did 78 times 4.5 and took the sine of that number, and you don't want that. You just want the sine of 78 times 4.5. All right, so I'm going to go back to get the right answer at the bottom. 4.5 times the sine of 78. Press equal, and then it wants me to divide by the sine of 42. And that's going to get me my side length C. So it looks like C is 6.57, so I'm going to round that to 6.6, I think. 6.6. So now what's happened is I have solved the triangle for the missing parts because I have all three angle measures and all three side lengths. Let's try another example. All right. The next example, this is kind of hard for you to read. I recognize that. Let me see if I can get that better focused. It's a little better, not great. I give you angle A, angle C, and side length B. We're going to solve the triangle for the missing parts. The best thing you can do for yourself to start this problem is draw a little sketch. Again, it's not going to be visually accurate, but it will give you the sense if law of sines is appropriate. It will help us know if we have a angle, side angle, 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 side, or side, side angle. So when I look here, angle A is 150. So you can see it's not visually accurate. C is 20. And I'm sorry, this keeps going out of focus. And side length B is 200. All right, so if we're going to solve this triangle for the missing parts, let's make ourselves a little answer key. Angle A, B, and C, 150, 20, and I don't know yet. And then side lengths A, B, and C. It looks like the only one we know is that B is 200, and I don't know A and C yet. So it's really nice to solve for the missing parts. I already have half of them done, and I think I put that 20 in the wrong spot. Yep, it was angle C is 20, angle B is what we're trying to figure out. There we go. All right, so then visually, what do I have? It looks like I have an angle A, side length B, and angle C. This one will be an angle side angle because this side length is between the two angles. It's touching both angles, just like it's written here. The S for side length is between both angles. It's touching both angles. So it is an angle side angle. So law of sines we'll be able to use here. Okay, so now we're ready, law of sines, to set up our proportion. All right, pick the one that you have information on both in the middle. Well, wait a minute. If this is 150 and this is 20, that adds up to 170. So that means angle B is 10. So it looks like angle B and side B is what I'm going to put in the middle. Oops, I always get that wrong. The side length is 200. and then it's the sine of 10. All right, and then I'm going to put the a's on the left. So side length A, I don't know. Sine of 150, and then side length C, I don't know, with the angle sine of 20. So now you're ready to set up both equations to solve. So go ahead and we'll have A times the sine of 10 equals 200 times the sine of 150. So when I solve for A, I divide by the sine of 10, I divide by the sine of 10. So over here they cancel. And now I'm not going to take the time to put this in the calculator because the video is already running long. Go back to the last example if you need calculator help. But when you do 200 times the sine of 150 divide by the sine of 10, you get a really long side length of 575.85. And that makes sense to me. If angle A is such a big angle of 150 degrees, the side length across it is going to be really long. So if you think of a more visually accurate picture, the idea of a side length of 575.85 doesn't seem unreasonable. So that got put in right there. All right, now let's do the work for side length C. Turn myself off. So we'd have C times the sine of 10, and then 200 times the sine of 20. Divide both sides by the sine of 10. Those cancel, and I'm going to save you some calculator time. We get a side length of 393.9, which again, 393.9 right there. All right. Something to think about. The biggest angle matches with the biggest side of 500. The smallest angle matches with the shortest side of 200, and the middle-sized angle would match with the middle size length, side length of 393. So that matches pretty well. So that is the end of the second video, but please come back for the third one because we need to spend some time on what happens when you have side-side angle, which is the trickiest. So don't give up on me yet. Thanks, everyone.